Between.
Okay. All right. Well, hi, everybody.
Oh, hang on.
Oh,
Yo.
hold it up.
Echoing.
The top one doesn't have mute on.
Ooh.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
Well, welcome. So, Kami's out, as a lot of people are, for MEA. So we're just gonna go through a couple of different announcements, and then Rick is gonna take
And
over
Scott.
for the rest, and Scott are gonna take over for the rest of our meeting. So, so first we'll start, as we always do, with some bucket fills, some good stuff, right?
Right on. What do you
Yeah.
got?
A bucket bill right up.
Oh,
the bat.
thank you, Scott.
I had an open house and Candy dropped in. And it was it's an open house kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's in Bloomington. She was there actually a half hour early to welcome me when I got there. So anyway, it was good to have her do that.
Exciting. She really felt set up, so I just snooped around, but.
Oh,
uh,
I'll definitely
That's great.
support that. She came to ours, about a month ago too. So that's awesome.
You know, if you have wine or champagne, I'm probably.
Perfect.
No, they're both very nice properties, so.
Hey, what else we got, guys? There's gotta be some positive stuff going on.
I'm gonna bucket fill, I've been filling his bucket lately by Tony Sarempa. He invited me to come on a tour of the Cambria factory, with his team, and it was so cool to see how they take the raw material from start to finish to fabrication to boxing it up, and everything was like, it was incredible. I know they have a great product, but now I actually know how they make it, and so it's like I have even more respect for them. It's crazy. So,
That is cool. And is that company still owned by the Davis family?
Yep.
Who owns the 55,000 square foot house on the lake?
Yep. They
What is the product?
it's a quartz.
Cambria
Oh.
countertops.
Yep,
Right.
manufactured quartz countertops.
It's like Belle Plaine, or where is that?
Lesueur.
Lesueur.
Yep, and they also their fabricating is in Belle Plaine. Yeah, that family also used to own Sun Country.
And Nabisco Foods.
Yep.
Very cool. 3 brothers, right? That's pretty neat to know. a
I
little bit.
actually shook Marty's hand.
Did
He
you
was there.
really?
I knew what it looks like. I was like, "Hi, I'm Chris." He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I was
Well,
like,
when you see him at 6 minutes later today, there you go, right? Perfect. Yeah, that's really cool. And how awesome is it when you are now talking with a client, whether at a listing appointment or you're hosting an open house and somebody's got Cambria countertops? I mean, now you know everything.
well, I pretty much learned they're pretty much indestructible unless you take a bulldozer to them, and then they probably won't break at that point, because in their warehouse they have stacks of these countertops, these slabs stacked 100 high on top of each other. And each of those slabs weighs 1,000 pounds. So the bottom one is still structurally sound and it doesn't crack. They just stack them 100 high.
Very cool. That's fun. What else do we got? I will thank my team for covering me last week. I took a break, which we're gonna get to here as one of the 7 ways to improve you, part of our book. So I took a break last week. Every 2 years I go to Moab, Utah with a group of about 12 to 15 guys, and we hike and jeep and couple to 1,500 foot cliffs. And I'm here, so I'm very grateful that I didn't die. So that was really good. We had a great time, and I didn't have to worry about work because Sherry and Jordan covered it.
Give a shout out to Derek, even though he's in the Bahamas on a sailing trip, he still will answer my phone calls if I call him in the middle of the ocean or wherever he is. So I had a deal last week, with some clients, and I got them a house, but I wanted to like make sure that like I had everything in order, and so Derek is good about helping me with that.
Oh, yeah. I got a new listing.
Did, wow, that's exciting.
Crying tears of joy.
Where is it?
Minnetonka, kind of Minnetonka Hopkins border, really nice, 3-bed, 2-bath. Side by side townhome, about 550, beautiful.
All right,
Keep going. There's kind of a lot of announcements. We have a lot of stuff coming up, guys. So the October calendar, a couple of things coming up. Today, we do have the happy hour at 6 minutes. Hope you can join us for that. We still have Ignite going on. And then we have a couple of other things that are going to be for the whole collective. And so this passive income active life, that's going to be here. So spots are limited. It's been on our Facebook group. We'll also send it out today, but we'll watch a little video here in a minute about it, just so you can have a better idea of like what it is. But if you want to go to that, space is limited, so do sign up for that. DEI community, we have the wealth community going on. Bold also starts coming up here. So again, click sign up.
is anybody in here going to Bold? I know, okay, and I know
Sherry.
Sherry Welly signed up, and I know, who else signed up?
Angie and Jelena is supposed to, but she has not officially, but Jelena was gonna go. And
Okay.
Sherry and Angie and Wendy. And-
Somebody from the desserts team signed up.
Oh, yeah, Rachel, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Rachel did too, okay.
yeah, Rachel did too. And you guys, I went to the first step. The instructor was really good. He was very cool. It was, you can tell he's gonna have you get down and get to work.
And I don't know if Sherry's willing to speak up. She's on Zoom, but she did tell me she was very, very impressed, and she's probably been to 4 or 5 of them
Yeah.
now. So that's good. She told me all about it.
Yeah,
So
I would
that will make all the difference in the world.
I think so too.
I heard,
To sign up.
just so you know, I listened to the Pivot Shift call every morning. James Shaw's on it, and he's led a lot of bolds over the years. And he said on one of those that, Warren Hudson, I don't know, it's confusing maybe. But anyway, he called him the best bold coach in business. So,
Yeah, he was great. It really was an awesome first step. Probably the best first step I've ever been to. So, and I've been to a lot of them too. He was great. I would highly encourage you to sign up. Scott, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there for first step. Yeah.
I did first step and I liked it too. I took notes.
Have you been to Bold before?
Both of them.
Okay, good.
Then, yep, 6 minutes happening today, so join us if you can. That's always fun.
Yeah, and we're gonna continue some of the conversations from today. There's 2 conversations we're gonna have. One is the book, and the second is we are looking at some forecasts for what the future looks like with interest rates and stuff. So it should be pretty interesting. So we'll continue some of that.
This is also happening this afternoon. So Abby Lacey, she's the regional tech trainer. She's really diving into some stuff with command, and it's from 2 to 3. You can still sign up for that. I did email out the Zoom link, so you just click on that link and join it at 2 if you can. And then this, we're gonna just watch a quick video about like, what is this that's coming to our market center next Tuesday, and it's from 9 to noon. Hopefully.
Misleading it in case this doesn't
So
work.
it's Marcus Green, and he is coming from Trump Market Center just to talk about moving your like.
Do we know anything about Marcus Green? He's awesome. He's impressive.
Yeah, all those things.
Okay.
And I believe Jake got this set up.
Yes, and actually, and then on
Yeah.
Wednesday, while we wait for this to come up, the next day, Wednesday, during our collective meeting, JL Collins, he's an author, is coming to that meeting. So hopefully you can join that either by Zoom or in person. It's at the Lakes office. But he is coming to that meeting. Mr. Money Mustache, he like wrote the forward in that book, and so that should also be it. So it's like 2 days back to back, all about like wealth building and how to live the best life. So a couple really cool things happening next week.
Yeah, this guy's from Utah. It looks like Keller Williams, Utah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, so I don't know if it'll come up. That's okay, Lydia.
I think we got
process. Then we'll talk about the other side of the equation, which is how do you treat your money today to ensure that you're going to hit that goal. Really excited to spend the day with you. Can't wait. Refer back to your Market Center leadership team for exact dates, times, and location, and I'll see you there. Can't wait.
That's when again, Tuesday, 9 to noon.
Tuesday, 9 to noon, and that is here.
And it's in person only, correct?
I do believe so.
Yeah, it says,
So
oh,
when you
yeah.
sign up, it doesn't have a Zoom that sends you a Zoom or anything, so I do believe it's in here, so that's what I'm saying, like, if you wanna go to it, sign up, cause space is limited, it'll be in this room, so, and it's going out to all 5 market centers, so. To that. And then the next day, sign up for the collective, meeting, so you can hear from JL Collins, so very cool. This we've already kind of talked about Bold, so it's still, you can still sign up, Hudson Warren,
Wednesday,
it starts Wednesday, the 25th.
and off the week of Thanksgiving.
Are you still doing the deal?
We'll still be doing team meetings,
No, the $100 deal or no?
reimbursements, not since the cap lowered.
Yeah, I mean, what do you need? One transaction to pay it
Yeah.
back?
Yeah.
I've done that. I've done Bold 9 times and I've never gotten less than 8 transactions as a result of any single Bold. That's what we've always
On the activities. Yeah, nice.
Kelly Zwilling, sent this out, the deadline to sign up if you want to participate in the agent holiday party that, she helps put on, I know Brahma, you're involved in it too, is the 27th, so that's next week. So if you want to be a part of it, make sure you sign up, so that way they have a head count of who's helping with it.
And everyone can invite their clients. It's a great event and it's
who's involved?
pretty reasonable.
I'll look at that.
Awesome,
Yeah.
okay,
We're
that's
It
great.
is awesome. It is, for $50, you can invite your entire database. They can come and have fun, bring an appetizer, or, we all contribute then to the food stuffs, but it is an incredible way to treat your clients to a really fun event. It's minimal work. We all pitch in together. It's great.
Very well organized.
Definitely. Okay, I'm just gonna put this plug out again. If you have anyone who is looking to get into the real estate market or has questions about a career in real estate, please send them my way. There are little business cards at the front desk that you can hand out. And then,
I think the business card idea is great. Yeah, because it's easy to just hand them out.
yeah, put your name on it.
Can you talk a little bit about what the potential might be in working with agents? Agents that are moving out of state, agents that maybe aren't gonna do a ton of business and might want to refer us business if they want to keep their license. Is our office putting something in place that's gonna make that easy?
For agents here that maybe are moving.
Yeah, so let's just say that we know a realtor that's gonna be moving out of state and they want to give us a book of business, for example, and keep their business going. Maybe they'll keep their license, or it's somebody who it's a part-time job, but they're working with, like what we found happens often is that there'll be an agent who's doing a little bit of work and maybe they're also a teacher. And so they're gonna want to maybe work with their family members, but not with some of the other people that they get as clients, and so they want to partner with somebody here at Keller Williams who's an active full-time agent. So do we have something in place for that?
We do, so if you do talk to people who maybe are looking for more of like a referral type basis and for their business, just have them come talk to me and we can do that, what that would look like.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this, so Matt Brady, he is the broker for Edina and also Otsego. And if you were here last year and previous years, I think it's the 3rd year for the Plank Challenge. So it's starting in November. So get ready. But he put together this video for us.
We're not. Yeah. Maybe we'll start.
If he starts talking anytime soon.
Who did the plank challenge in here last year?
He did.
I did.
Oh, there's the desserts.
Oh,
That one
there's
is
desserts.
Or maybe not. It looks like that.
Oh, no,
no.
another hallway.
So anyway, it's a great opportunity to share some information on your social media and with your friends. It's $30 to sign up. And then all the winners who plank the longest get a portion of the pot to their charity. So when you sign up to do the plank challenge, you have to name a charity that if you win, that you want your money to go to. So Heidi Butler is like at 10 minutes. So, you know, we'll see who can, if anyone can beat.
She played for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Shut up.
I think it's on there that, yeah, she won last year. So,
Yeah.
but the goal is to be like at 4 minutes by the end of November. So, you know, baby steps. But anyway, so we'll put this out too on Facebook, and I'll email it out after the meeting as well about how to sign up for that. So all good for a charity and a good way to reach out to people who maybe want to plank with you. And then I think it's just like the sign up here, so. So that you'll see this on, email and then also on our Facebook group so that you can scan this and kind of. And it's all just kind of on your own honor, so you gotta put in there that you're actually doing it.
Because you do it every day, right? I
You
believe.
plank every day.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, Emily, I see you look really interested. I think we're gonna be planking
I'm
together.
trying to get Derek to do it with me.
Yeah, get your whole gym community in on it.
Our gym
I
people.
want that picture.
I should just do it every day a lifetime or wherever, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do it. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to you guys.
Awesome. So, this is Living Life by Design. It's kind of fun. Kami's in Montana. Kevin is
New York.
in New York. Jelena's on a cruise. Derek Steinbach is on a sailing ship somewhere in the ocean, and Angie is also somewhere
I'm not
out
sure he's out of town.
out of town. So, so people, so your leaders are setting an example. Make sure you take some vacation, take a little time off. That's gonna be part of our book today. So as you know, the ALC has been reading a book, and we are at the end. Thank goodness, it's like the first book I finished in about 10 years. So, we are at the end. It is kind of the last part of it. So there's two things that Scott and I want to cover today. One is going through the 7 ways to improve you, which is the end of the book. And the other thing is we got from our lender yesterday, from a lender. I think you've worked with Bell as well, from Bell Mortgage. We got some information on some forecasting of what the future looks like with interest rates, which of course I would imagine is pretty is going to be pretty intriguing for everybody, right? Because it's playing a big role. So the first thing that comes up in this book, the first thing in the last chapter of this book is, this is about 7 ways to improve yourself. And again, this is the whole book that we've been talking about, kind of wrapping it up at the very end here. Okay, so the first thing to do is your life moves to a better place when you move at a sustainable pace. Please raise your hand if you've ever had a time in this business when you have felt a little burned out. Yeah, a lot in the last week. Right, so one of the things they talk about, I'm like, did you read it?
Yeah.
You know, look for your insight as well. One of the things they talked about is that what are you doing with your lifestyle to ensure that you're not burning out, right? I mean, we go all the way back to biblical concept on making sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can be good enough to take care of other people, right? And it's really important. How strong are you going to be if you're wearing yourself out? So they talk a little bit about what are you going to do with your lifestyle to make sure that you are healthy enough so that you can be the strongest you can be, so that you don't burn out and that you're going at a consistent, manageable pace, right? So anything to add to that?
I think, how do you know when you're not, I mean, Chris, what do you do? How do you know when you're not in a sustainable pace? I mean, I think that's the problem, is you sit there and say, well, I can do a little bit more, and what are the things that you recognize when you're not doing something that is sustainable? I know for me, it's like, all of a sudden I just kind of almost had like a low depression. I'll just sit there and just kind of sink down into just a flat line. And I noticed that I kind of get a little chirpy with my wife or my kids. But I mean, do you have things that you guys see in your own life? Like, maybe if you have anything, if you say it, maybe someone will say, oh yeah, it kind of resonates with me. Does anyone have anything that they can say, yeah, right now I feel X?
I mean, I could prompt Chris with seeing his social media post that he finished a half marathon, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
You finished it? Okay. What did it take to finish that half marathon?
Well, I knew I needed to run at a 9:30 pace.
Okay.
And when you're getting passed by people at mile 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you're like, oh man, like these people, like they're so much faster than I am. But then at mile 11 and 12, I was passing them.
Okay.
And then not that it was like super competitive, but it's like I was sticking to the plan, like sticking to my at least 9:30 pace, maybe run a little faster, a little slower. But
How did you, first of all, did you have to prepare for that marathon in any way?
yeah, a little bit.
Probably.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, and then how did you come to the determination that 9:30 was your target time frame?
Because when I started training, that was what I was comfortable with. And that's what I knew the pace that I knew I could do to finish the race without like having to walk or.
And in the event that you had to walk, would you still have finished?
Yeah.
Okay. So I heard, and let me know if you heard anything else, but I heard that he prepared for what he was about to take on as a challenge. He also planned, so he had in his preparation, he figured out what is it going to take to be successful. Then he had a mindset that said, oh, bunch of people like the 12-year-old girl that just passed me, it's kind of freaking me out a little bit, but I'm still going to make it. I'm still going to stay strong. I'm still going to stay on the path, which is sustainable. That's maturity. That's what we're looking for in this business, right? Don't jump on something and go crazy and then, and wear yourself out. Also, don't go at such a slow pace that you're not going to meet the goal that you're intended to meet, right?
That's funny you say that, because there was actually a bunch of high school girls that passed me at mile 5.
I'm sure they did. So. And hopefully you saw them again before the end. And
I didn't see them again. Yeah, I know.
And so the other thing that comes up in here is to take a break, do a recharge. Gary Keller since day one has said that what is the first thing, according to Gary Keller, that you put on your annual calendar at the beginning of the year when you're doing your business planning? The very first, foremost, most important thing. There you go. Couple of people paid attention. That's very good. Those two paid attention. Vacation. Why? Because Gary maintains the mindset of in the annual year the same way he maintains the mindset of a day. What does he say when he goes around his office and sees people there at 4:10 when the office closes at 4? Remember what he says? You did not do what you needed to do. You weren't efficient enough. You didn't plan well enough to get done within the time frame what you needed to get done. So if you put vacation in there, 2, 3, 4 vacations, and the recommendation is per quarter. So you got 4 vacations a year planned, 1 week each time, for example, then you will do what you need to do, knowing that at the end of the third, fourth, month, your third month, you're taking a vacation. Make sense? You are planning ahead. Do you think Derek has been thinking about the vacations he takes? I know it's 27 a year, but in between, he has to plan, does he not? He has to prepare, so that's good. All right, moving on to the second one. Think 30.
I had never done I'd never even heard of what Think 30 was. So the guy's idea is, how often, he had a quote from Albert Schweitzer. It said, most people simply fail to think. We just kind of go at it and jump in and work, and we don't really have a plan of, we haven't thought things through on what we're going to do. And his idea was, he challenged himself to think 30, which was, I'm gonna sit quiet and just concentrate my energies on one idea for 30 minutes. Once a day. He tried, and he said, broke it in 10-minute segments. First 10 minutes, you're just thinking about whatever that concept is. Second 10 minutes, you're just brainstorming. Whatever your thoughts were, record them. Then the last 10 minutes, look for commonalities between all the notes that you took. And I thought, oh, well, it worked. So today I sat down and I said, I'm gonna do my Think 30. And I've had, how many of you had a thought and you say, oh, that'd be so cool too, X, and you never take the time and hash it out. But every day that same thought pops into your head, and yet you kind of let it ramble around and waste your time and never come back to it. Well, I had that happen. Some guy said, I'm using this guy from the Philippines to do marketing. And I pay him $4 an hour. And he goes, he can do anything you want him to. He used to work in a Wells Fargo call center. His English is impeccable. And I said, oh, it's gonna be so great to use him. But I never thought, oh, how am I gonna use him? So every day I would say, I'm gonna talk to Mark. It's gonna be great to have him working. And now a month and a half has gone by and I've only used him one time because I don't know how to use him. So today I said, I think 30, how am I gonna use Mark? Get it so I can start using them on a daily basis. And so I just put into practice the 10 minutes of sitting there just thinking, what would I have to do? What do I want it to look like? And I took my notes, and at the end I realized, Scott, you're just so confused on, you don't know what's even possible to you. And I saw some commonalities. Ask Mark, how would he come over rather than me coming up with the answer? He's the guy saying, I'll work for $4 an hour. He's looking for work. Ask him, how would you solve my problem of not looking like a guy in the Philippines doing a call center, doing work for me? Let him come up with the answers. I saw, okay, think it through. Give him, KW has all sorts of command YouTube things out there. I'm gonna watch the YouTube, have Mark watch you. I just saw all these things that kind of popped out to get Mark moving forward. Because he's gonna do the same thing I would do. I'm gonna watch YouTube and I'm gonna start using YouTube to say, okay, that's what I'll let him do it. But if I never took the time to think about it, I would never initiate that interaction with Mark. And so the Think 30, at least I put it into practice today, and it worked.
It's great. So I'm gonna make an attempt at humor. I did notice that Scott was very politically correct when he misquoted Schweitzer. So for the women in the room, I'm gonna properly quote Schweitzer. Men simply don't think. Sorry, guys. That was the actual quote. But you were also right. Obviously, he meant people. So what came to me on this is that there's different things that can happen during that time. That stopping is important. And depending upon where you're at, maybe even on a daily basis, consider stopping for 30 minutes. Maybe it's spiritual for you. Maybe it's a physical and mental meditation in which you're literally stopping. So you want to think about something positive because your day's filled with negative. The spiritual thing is great because it's hard to hear what we're supposed to hear unless you stop to listen, right? And then the other thing is, new ideas. If you stop and you take that time and, again, it's meditation's maybe not the right term for it, but if you consider it like a meditation, you may come up with a great new idea. Or you focus on one thing specific and you spend 30 minutes thinking about that, you're going to find some success in it. You're going to find an answer. So very good. Okay. And the next thing to do in order to improve you, and obviously this isn't us, this is the book, helping you improve, is a great day begins the night before. Who agrees with that? Yeah. Okay. How does that happen in your world? When does that happen in your world? Talk to me a little bit about what you remember a great day, and then tell me how you prepared for it the night before.
I use Brendan Burchard's daily planner.
Brendan Brouchard, okay?
And you plan so I'm a Google Calendar person. However, I find if I write out my calendar for the next day in the planner, then one, it reminds me of what I have going on. Two, I decide if I want to eliminate anything, like is there a meeting that I really shouldn't be having the next day? That's a waste of my time. Or can I shorten it? And then what I need to delegate the next day. And on the days I do it really well, our ops team has emails in their email from the night before that says these priorities need to be a priority so that I don't get pulled into things that shouldn't be my priority.
Perfect. So you have in advance prepared everything for tomorrow before tomorrow. So when tomorrow comes, you're not caught off guard because your clients will catch you off guard. There will be certain things that'll come into play. You know, some of your team will catch you off guard just because new things happen, right? But it sounds like you're trying to control and have a better way of maintaining a sustainable pace. Probably based on past experience, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I think another thought I was thinking, Rick, when you guys were talking about number 1 and number 2, that if you're struggling to create a sustainable pace, because I think realtors are known for doing this, right? Our business does this because our activities do this. And what's really helped me is tracking what I'm doing for a day in 30-minute increments. Because if I look up and I realize I've been doing admin work, or let's be real, social media scrolling or something, calling it work, but it's really not, then I can better understand how to better use my time to make it actually sustainable.
very helpful. Has anybody suffered from any form of anxiety ever in their life? Raise your hand. Anxiety. Okay. As some of you know, I've got an extensive background in psychology, and there are multiple studies that say the same thing about anxiety. It's much better to list the things that you're thinking about before you go to bed than to wake up the next morning and start thinking about them. So that's just a practice that everybody should put into play. Create a list in the evening of everything that you're thinking about tomorrow. I mean, you've taken it to a whole nother level by prioritizing and reducing tomorrow's responsibilities by saying some of them are no longer as significant as I anticipated. But first and foremost is make a list of everything you're thinking about. That way, the things you're thinking about can leave your mind and you can rest. The next morning, you look at the list. If you want to add to it, it's great. But you put that together before you go to bed. We spend an entire day winding up, and our brains are active all day long. That's a lot of thoughts. Put them down, set them aside, go to bed, revisit in the morning, right? So same thing holds true for one of the best things. I have trouble picking out outfits and figuring out what to wear. I'm sure other people do too. I would imagine guys and girls, picking stuff out in the morning. And that's another thing. Well, if you prepare, you're like, okay, what am I doing tomorrow? Well, why don't I pick some things out? Why don't I set them out? And now you don't have to worry about it in the morning. It's one less thing to do. So I think it's just great practice.
We even do that like with my kids, like the night before we talk about, well, what are your activities tomorrow? What are you doing? Okay, what do you need to wear? And it's all picked out. So in the morning they get up, they put their clothes on.
Well, that's great, especially if they've got to change into sports uniforms and that sort of stuff.
It's in the bag. It's ready to go. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Okay, the next section is how to find a mentor. Okay. First sentence is iron sharpens iron. Surround yourself with people who will sharpen, challenge, and inspire you. This is coming from the guy who runs Chick-fil-A, right? I mean, it's no different than Gary Keller and a lot of other speakers who are motivational speakers, right? Surround yourself with the people that you aspire to be more like. What did you find in this paragraph this section that stood out to you?
I find that I give the advice to others and I don't take it to practice myself. I don't know, how many people here have kids, or who here has kids? Okay, so my kids got to an age and you get concerned about who they're hanging out with. Why?
It's gonna have an influence on them.
You know, so it's like, why? Because there's a kind of saying, you become like the 5 people you hang with the most, that's who you're gonna kind of fall to that level of, fall or rise to that level. And so you get concerned when you watch your kids do it. Because who they're hanging with influences them. The schools they go to influences them. And I've recognized in my own life, it influences me. And yet I don't pursue, and I say, okay, I want to be a better realtor. But I don't look and say, oh, Rick sells houses that I would like to, or, you know, Chris is doing some open houses and having, I don't go to Chris and say, hey, how about you come to my open house? Or can I come to your open house? And it's like, you know what? That would behoove me to do so. And I know the people who I watch, it's interesting. I pretend that I have all the answers, but yet there's so many people. Bethany's got a team over here of a gazillion people. And I'm going, man, I should like hire Mark to do my social, you know, to do this one little. Well, why don't I talk to Bethany and say, well,
There's 5 of us, but yeah.
I can hear the noise coming out of the chatter out of the. But it's like, you know what? Ask her. And just say, hey, I'm struggling with how to get teaching someone how to use command because I don't even know how to use it myself.
You're doing great with command.
I wanna say, Scott, I think.
Opportunities.
I don't know how to use it either.
I think Scott made, you used a great example in presenting our kids. Okay, our kids and who they hang out with, it is so important to us to consider who our children are hanging out with. I think everyone who's had a child has been in that same position. Who, even if it's in younger children, who are they hanging out with and what sort of influence are they having in their life? Why in the world would we, as we get older, we get more set in our ways, completely disregard that concept in our own lives? It makes no sense. You know, we should be, it is so important that for our children, that they're surrounded by people that are gonna have a positive influence on them. Why is it not equally as important for us? And what a great example we're gonna set for our children when we say, yes, I want to hang out with, you know, Pastor Troy at Grace Church. I want to hang out with Scott Nagel because he's a very ethical, very successful realtor at Keller Williams. You know, pick the people that you want to be around for a reason. So with that said, there's a happy hour this evening. I wanted to tell you that I don't go there for me at all. This is not fun. I spend more than enough time with myself. I don't enjoy myself that much. It's just, I'm not that, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm so excited to be around Rick, right? I actually go because I get to spend time with the admin here. You know what's interesting about the admin? Apart from them just being, you know, generally good people, but what's interesting about the admin is that the admin here know more about every agent and what's going on in the market than all of us do. Because we are in our little offices, in our little bubbles, dealing with our lives and what's around us. And we're only spread as far as maybe talking to Scott, talking to the Zerks, talking to Tony, and figuring out what's going on in their business, going all the way around the office to talk to Bethany over on the other side, right? But they know everything all the time. They are so involved in everything in this business and what each agent is doing, that what great conversations we can have about what's happening at Keller, what's happening in the market. You know, so I am interested in surrounding myself with people who are fascinating and can provide new information. Does that make sense? So, and if you choose to do that with every aspect of your life, well, your life's going to be great because there's always going to be people having a positive influence on you, right? So, I assume you guys are going to be there today.
Yeah, we'll be there.
We're gonna be there. I love going to the happy hour. It gives everyone a chance to talk, and we do discuss the market and what's going on. It's a great time. It always is.
Good, yeah, it's good. So thank you so much. The next one is ask big. Okay. We want to do you remember the example in this, what he did?
Yeah.
So,
He had his daughter, they would watch Finding Nemo. And they loved it, right? The kid was dreamed and slept with fish and all this stuff. Anyway, so he came with this crazy idea. What if I wrote a letter to Pixar, said, you get a tour for my daughter's birthday. Well, he was anxious about doing it, but he did it anyway, sent it off. And then lo and behold, Pixar actually called him back and said, not only do we want you to have just a quick tour, but we're going to, and they kind of opened the gates of the complex and really brought him in and gave him just a huge experience at Pixar. And he's like, huh, all I did was, I was thinking maybe getting an access into the facility just to say, oh, hi, and see, like Finding Nemo, a little picture. And they got an entire day's experience at Pixar, touring and showing how they can behind the scenes, all because he asked. And
All because he asked. And one of the things that I thought was interesting about that is the daughter loved Pixar, right? And potentially was gonna end up doing something in the industry. And so if you think of, we're starting here, finding a mentor, surrounding yourself with people that you want to be around, they're gonna have a positive influence on you. You can move to here, asking big. So I want you guys to think about maybe a very high-end custom builder that you cross paths with a client, where your client has built the house with them. And you know that they do a pretty good job selling, but you might be able to do a better job selling for them. And you respected the way that they did business for your client. And you want to surround yourself with that person because you met him and you're like, wow, this builder is a really cool man or woman who's got this incredible business they developed. Why would you not at that point? Because you're doing this, you're surrounding yourself with people that you aspire to be like, somebody very successful that has done a great job for your client. Why not ask big? Why not go in and say, hey, I know if you have any need at all, whether it's now or in the future, because things happen with builders, with their realtors, where things change in the realtor's life. The realtor decides to do something different, move somewhere else, things don't go well on a transaction, and next thing they know, looking for someone else, right? Why not ask big? Why not do it? So I think it's great. I think don't put a limit, on what you're asking, because what's the worst thing that could happen? What's the worst thing that could have happened with the girl asking for a tour at Pixar? They're gonna say no. Okay, when they asked, were they getting a tour at Pixar? No. So they're just where they are. So you're either where you're at, or you're up here because you just got a tour at Pixar. You're either where you're at or you're up here because you just asked the builder if you could be involved in any way. Even if it's, can I host some opens and not represent you as a builder and let them find out how amazing you are, right?
And I think on the flip, think of all the opportunities you have that you can share with someone else. I think we all know someone who asks and asks and asks and never gives. And you kind of like, well, they're a little bit of a leech. What about all the things that we have the ability to just enlighten someone else or gift them something? You have a car and someone doesn't have loan them your car. Or loan them some tools, or loan them some, you see someone struggling with something. Say, hey, I got some insight on that. Maybe I can help you with it. But offer big to people and just see what happens. There's a lot of need out there.
Yeah, and pay attention to those people. You guys, this is twofold. One is us saying we want to be around people that inspire us. Take into consideration those that you are inspiring and make sure that we are attending to those, whether it's kids, whether it's your kids, whether it's your kids' friends, whether it's colleagues at work. Make sure that we are attending to that responsibility, because each and every one of you in this room is inspiring someone. So don't forget what that responsibility means. It's pretty cool. Next one is, I love this. Find your voice. Sir, you have to take this microphone. So with your voice, we need to find our voice and become better communicators. Eventually, leadership comes with the microphone. Pause for a second and think about that. Very, very difficult to be an effective leader until you're in a position where you're comfortable using your voice. And when we are working with our clients, are we at McDonald's as an employee in which the manager says, doesn't matter what happens, the client, the customer is always right? Is that the situation we're in real estate? Please say no. No. So anyone here who believes that their client under every circumstance is always right, you just got to do what they want you to do? No, hopefully not. Okay, which means what? We are leaders. You're innately a leader as soon as you sign a contract with someone and say, I'm going to be responsible for this aspect of your life. Now you are the leader, right? Which means you can't sit back and just be silent. You have to find your voice. And what I think is so cool is they outlined 4 different ways. I know a lot of people who are a little bit more introverted or freaked out about this, but this is very important. It's intentional. Find your voice. You may be the teacher. So there's 4 different areas that they identify that you can have a voice. That's most common. The teacher. You may be the motivator, right? Which I try to be a motivator. You may be the storyteller, right? I mean, you got these amazing stories. I already told 2 of them today that have been effective. Is that right? Is that not his mode of communicating, is telling these stories that, wow, look at what actually happened in this story. It's not about me, but I'm effectively communicating a message by telling a story. Or you may be the visionary, right? Who's a visionary? Gary Keller, right? Who else is a visionary? The gentleman who's going to be doing the whatever the don't work and make money.
Passive income plan.
Passive income.
Freedom number. Freedom number.
Thank you for your help. Thank you very much for your help. Anyway, clearly I'm not the teacher. That is not my role as a communicator. Teacher, no. So, but it is fun, and it is really important to have that because we're learning things. God has given each and every one of us individual gifts that we are continuously honing and using to improve other people's lives. And how do you do that without actually speaking out? You know, so it's really it's an encouragement to find your voice wherever that is. Get comfortable in it. Where you're uncomfortable, let's just say you're a teacher and you're uncomfortable. Well, register for a class that's super easy for you to teach. Something that's very basic for you, because that's the way that you communicate. You know, you're a motivator. Well, motivate your wife to do something that she doesn't want to do, like go to Chili's when she wants to go somewhere else. I mean, be a motivator in a simple way, you know, to do something that is going to help you to build that degree of communication. Storyteller, that's easy, right? Make the stories and make sure you're sharing them. And then the visionary. That one I think is easy too, because visionaries, if you're a visionary speaker, listen to visionary speakers. That will hone your skills. That will show you how people can captivate audiences and say, a leader like Bethany has got to be a visionary speaker. She's got a group, there's got people that are listening to her that need to know, how does the future look better for us, right? So, there you go. Hope there wasn't a bus driving by. And the final one is be humble or be humbled. John Woodall says, God resists the proud, and so do we. That I think is just a great statement. How many of you in the room are attracted to arrogant people? Haughty, contemptuous, prideful human beings? No one? Really? Fascinating. So, you want to talk a little bit about this? Humility? How humble of him. You know, he goes in, obviously you guys all know that I believe that God created everybody equally. So we are all have the same significance and value in life, which means that I am no better than anybody else. No one, regardless of my experience and what I'm able to do, and regardless of anything, I'm no better than any other person. So what does that do from a humility standpoint. It shifts my mindset from, I need to be better than Scott. Shifts it from, I need to be better from Scott to, I need to be better than I was yesterday for my clients. Every single very successful athletic team will have some of this in their history. It is not about the Vikings being better than the Packers on any given day. It's about every player on that team being better than they were the game before. And eventually they're going to be better than every other team. Does that make sense? So the focus becomes, what can we do to improve ourselves from a humility standpoint so that we can be better for other people? It has nothing to do with how I rate in relation to other people, and it never should. Chris should never say, I sold this much real estate and Rick sold this much real estate. Chris should say, I sold this much real estate last month. This month I need to sell this much more. Because I aspire to be like Scott. Right? And so he's using that relationship as positive and not negative. That makes sense? So that's humility for me.
I don't know, I just, on the humble part, it's, as you kind of go through sports, playing sports, I just remember coaching, and there were parents that wanted to put the kids' names on the back of the jersey. And it's like, so they can shout out and recognize them on the field, and I get that. But for some reason, it kind of struck me, I didn't want the kids to have their names on the jersey. I didn't want everyone to say, that's the so-and-so kid. I wanted everyone to just be seen as one team, right? You can recognize the kid who's 3 feet taller than the rest out in the field. I mean, you know their names. You don't need to have the name on the back of the jersey. But I just think, how many, like college football, used to be none of the jerseys had names on them. Now certain teams have the pattern. Certain teams don't have the names on it, and some teams do. And I just thought, why? Because it's not about the individual. It's about the team. And there's just a certain amount of pride. I mean, I think pride plays a role in that. So do TV ratings and making money as a college athlete. But I think there's something to it about, I want people to recognize me on the field as opposed to, I want us all just do, I want to come in and have this whole office do well selling real estate, not just one guy in this corner, one person over here, one person over there, but as a total community, we're a group of people who sell a lot of real estate together. That's who I want, and that's where I want to work. So I think as a humble thing, it's just like, kind of, you know, sometimes it plays out in different ways. I don't know how to like it. Very good.
Appreciate it. Yes.
Did this for the first time recently, and it really struck me, is especially when you're building an office like we are, or if you're building a team, no matter how big your team, you got a gazillion people.
4 or 5.
Or 2, is, are you building an ecosystem or are you building an ecosystem? And it's just something that we've really clung on to, is because you can have one really good month and then you can have a not really good month. And if you let your ego get in the way versus building an ecosystem where everyone can not just survive but thrive, it's a very, very different environment.
Thank you all for the participation. We did promise to show you some really interesting information, which we have 5 minutes to go through. So if you give me permission, what?
Okay, we have Jason Finch here. But you can join us for happy hour, and then Rick can talk more about that at happy hour.
Got it. Yep. Come on up.
You've got more to share. I'm
So
so.
you'd probably rather hear someone else.
Come on. All right.
So we have Jason.
Can we all go home?
We also so Stay for Lunch. We'll put the some graphs up here too for you guys. We have Jason joining us today from Finch, so thank you so much.
So you're not quite on camera over here.
Oh, that's kind of.
Thank you. Most importantly, for those of you that are watching online, if you still have time, we brought, again, from planning the night before, I didn't realize it was MEA, and it was going to be a mostly empty room today. So it's soup and salad. There's a ton. Help yourselves to eat. My name is Jason, for those that don't know me, with Cinch Home Warranty. Real brief today. One of the things I want to do is first of all, express a little gratitude. Bethany, thank you. You and your team have been, consistent. And I think it teaches us a lot about how we want to communicate best with our clients and our agents. So thank you to you and your team, and to Jacob Milton, if you're out there as well. There you are. All right. We have an email relationship.
Yeah.
So we have to say hello live and in person.
That's great.
One of the things I wanted to add as a potential here is to how to improve. It's something that we've done, and Rick, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to crowd you out.
your way.
But is listen to complaints. And when, and I think it has a lot to do with humility, when we as a company, one of the things that it's the worst part of the job is hearing people complain, I think, and no matter what we do. But we took a step back and we realized that there was a lot to be learned from complaining. And it kind of tells us where our weak spots are, where our opportunities for improvement are. And so Cinch, as a home warranty company, did a lot of listening. And the biggest complaints that we consistently heard were people saying, I don't want to wait for your service provider. It's January, the furnace went out and your guy is 3, 4, 5, 6 days out, and that doesn't work for us. So we are now, we took that advice into, and put it into action. We are now the only home warranty company that offers 2 types of plans. It's kind of like, think of it like health insurance. We have the in-network plan, where we've got the highest levels of coverage with our service providers. And now we've got the out-of-network plan. We call it our BYOP, bring your own pro. And what it allows your clients to do is to pick whatever service providers they want to choose. They can pick up the phone and call. If something goes out and they need service that day, they can pick up the phone and call around until they find somebody to come take care of them. It also allows you now, again, to be the resource for you. People are coming in from out of town. They don't know an electrician. They don't know a plumber. They don't know an HVAC company. So they can rely on you. Who do you refer? Some of you, this is the biggest part of the services that you offer as a real estate professional, is you have another group of professionals that can help them in. So we touch base. You're going to see two different brochures from Cinch going forward. One is again, BYOP, bring your own pro. They're priced very similarly to our highest plan, which is our upgraded plan, which I always recommend. And it's crystal clear. And that's a big part of what we're doing going forward as well, is simplifying terms. If you notice those 8-page brochures from typically us and our competitors, if you're confused after you read the brochure, that's not by accident. Okay, we've simplified our terms so that everybody understands exactly what's covered and what the limits are. So I'll be brief. Eat up, drink up. We thank you guys for continuing to work with us. We'll see some of you at Bold in the next week or two.
And you're gonna stick around during lunch if people want to talk to you.
I'll stick around if anybody wants to talk to the warranty guy, but know that, yeah, lunch is here. And if you're still out there, we brought in way more food than there are people. So come on.
Can we get a raise of hands of who uses Central Warranty? Because that'll tell you something.
Awesome. I wish you could all see, because it makes me happy to see those hands. And
yeah, it was like 3/4 of the room. So
and again, the biggest, what I like now about the new brochures coming out is they have my business contact information right there on them. So you don't have to worry about losing a business card on the brochures. So please use me, contact me. The biggest thing I say is this is like a real estate transaction. Very seldom does anything go perfect from start to finish. But if something's going sideways, if your client reaches out to you and say, hey, I'm not really excited about this, the sooner you reach out to me, the sooner we can fix it.
Awesome. Question. Awesome. I know you said this is layman's terms, so I might just need real detail. So it says air conditioning 2 units up to 2,500, but you can't replace one for 2,500.
No, that's part of what, as this is our kind of outside of network, what you're going to find is it's a higher convenience. This is for your
air convenience, less coverage.
Correct. So the traditional plan is the highest levels of coverage. There's no limits when you're replacing those HVAC systems that can cost $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, $13,000. So the new program is higher convenience, more choice for them, but it's going to have lower limitations on how much coverage it provides. Good question. So thank you for your time. I was taking notes and then I was excited to be back in the office. Appreciate you guys.
well, I can't help but put those charts up. I want to show you guys what's going on. So this is, I'm gonna give you like three minutes. I narrowed it to 3 minutes now. You don't have to listen. You can get up and eat if you want. But if you want to know what's gonna happen with the rates, we talked to a lender at Bell, who was the vice president of mortgage lending at a much bigger bank for years and then moved over to Bell about 10 years ago. And so this is an indicator that's taken from the NBA, the National Bankers Association, National Association of Realtors, and the Federal Reserve Board. I'm not gonna explain exactly how this graph works, except for in very brief. So what's happening is you're looking at like March 21st, March of 21, when they start the indicator, and this is what what they are doing is they're predicting the future. So they were predicting that the rates are gonna stay flat back in 2021. All three of these organizations met and they put this information together collectively. And that's what they're predicting for the near future, okay? Then you move on, for example, you move on to like December of 2022, when it's, the indicator started and they said, let's see, it's December of 2022. Is it this brown one probably? Yeah, so what they're saying now, what they were saying is that the rates are gonna start to come down. Now collectively, everybody is saying the same thing, that we're almost at the end. I'm gonna make a long story short. So I had a very, very long conversation with the lender yesterday about all of this information. I'm gonna narrow it down into something very brief. What's the cost of stuff going up? Inflation rate, okay? A good inflation rate is 3%, generally speaking. Okay, we were at 9.5. We are now at 4. The target for this administration is 2. Okay, they're gonna get to it. The expectation is they're gonna get to it by the end of this year. November, most likely the rates will not go up at the November meeting. They most likely will go up one more time at the December meeting, and then they will not go up again. That's the expectation based on the three. And again, this isn't the interest rate, this is the rate in which the banks can borrow money from the government. Okay, which is a major driver in what happens with our interest rates. So what we're gonna see is we're gonna see a turnaround within the election year. Can you go to the next slide, which is very easy? And that kind of shows us, this is the highlighted expectation, and you can look at where we're at. Quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, 7.2, and then look what happens.
Can you read them?
Yeah, I'm going from beginning of 2024, 6.8. These are interest rates offered on mortgages now, okay? And 6%, approximately 6% at the end of next year, okay? And then the following year, 2025, starting at 6, going down to 5.5, 2 years from now, okay? And then you can kind of see each year, 2022, the average was 6.6, 2023, 7.2, or the high, sorry. And then 2024, we're looking at the high being 6.1, 5.5, and 5.4 in the years to come, which is good. This is what is to be expected. This is what we've been talking about, right? So what's one of the things that's very interesting is what's going to happen right now at this moment. The United States citizens have more debt than they have had any day in the history of the United States, ever. It's over $1 trillion. Most of it is credit card debt. So what happens with this maximum debt amount that Americans have? And I want to talk for 30 seconds on how we got it. But what happens with it? A couple of things. People have to be able to control it. They got to be able to pay it back. Is everybody's job getting better? Are they getting raises? No, they're not. Okay. So what these organizations know, all three of them know, that the best amount of money that can be used to manage debt is equity in a house. So what can you do when you have equity in a house? We know that the values have appreciated over the past 3 years consistently, right? Over the past 10 years, they've appreciated. We've appreciated in value. So people who own houses have value in their house. You can do two things: sell it, home equity line of credit. First, the easiest thing is a home equity line of credit. So let's just say you have a $500,000 house, you owe $400,000 on it, you got 50 grand in credit card debt, and it's driving you crazy because it's at a very, very high rate and you have no way of paying it back. So what do? You go to the lender and say, I want a home equity line of credit. You know what they tell you? You guys know what the rates are on a home equity line of credit right now? 10. Average rate on a home equity line of credit today, 10%. Average time frame that they're writing those on, amortizing, is 15 years. Very, very expensive thing to do to try to consolidate your debt. So most likely the expectation is people will be selling because they will take that equity. They're not, the predictions are not, and the future predictions are not that people are gonna downsize and be more conservative, because it's generally not in our nature, and clearly that's gotten us into a little trouble. But they are gonna most likely get a new mortgage, they're gonna reset, they're gonna pay off their debt, and they're gonna move into a new house. So we need to be prepared for the fact that that is most likely going to happen. People are gonna be in a position where they're gonna want to sell their house. They really don't have a choice. They can let their house go into foreclosure like we had back in time, which is a scary, scary thing, because they don't have any way to pay back their debt. Okay, so really quick, how did we get here? Because I think it's critical, it's important. The one reason why inflation is not down, according to conversation I had yesterday, there's one main reason why inflation is not down to the percent that it needs to be yet. And that's because consumers, we are still consuming way more than was expected. So the amount of things that we are purchasing is significantly higher than was anticipated. That's still causing some caution and some pause. And it is important to understand what we think some of the reasons are for that. You take one, almost done. You take one reason, there was a lot of influx of money during COVID. The positive of the influx of money during COVID is the economy kept moving, right? The negative of some of the influx of money during COVID is that there was no accountability or responsibility to pay it back. The two primary things that are causing some trouble that are further described in this report is that there was, what do we call it? Forbearance on mortgages and forbearance on student loans. When the forbearance was granted on mortgages and student loans, that debt that people had, they didn't have to pay for a certain amount of time. Great. Problem is, they didn't pay that debt during that period of time, and they kept spending money. Everybody did, because the economy was moving. Well, now the forbearance is over, they have to pay these debts, and they've accumulated other debt in the meantime. That's one of the major reasons why this isn't stopping. People are continuing to live a lifestyle that collectively we haven't decided there's a need for the conservative aspect of it. So it's a little bit of a carryover of an uncertain, an unfortunate circumstances that occurred. So now people are starting to think we need to be a little bit more conservative. We need to change. Last piece, it's called the hangover. Okay. So this has been the party. The economy going crazy like this and rushing and people spending like absolute nuts. That's the parties, right? December and January, they're calling the hangover. The government will not start to reduce rates until there needs to be relief from a hangover. So there's going to be a little bit of financial, pain, that's going to occur in the next couple of months. That's going to put people in a position where they say, wow, we really need a little bit of relief here, and let's get this economy kind of smoothed out. And so that is the recovery for the hangover that's anticipated in the next couple of months. So there you go.
Grab some lunch and we can hang out in here tomorrow.